Hey, look at me, back in the house like a civilized human being. Alright, so we are going to do another comic book review. I don't have anything new to talk about as far as comics go. I don't have any new releases. The last review was Ghosts of the Badlands, and that was pretty new. I just gotten it in the mail just the day before and read it immediately, and then went straight to doing a review of it. Um, I'm just going to do some stuff that I have that's older, just in the interest of uh, getting better at making videos and doing comic book reviews and things like that. So the one I've chosen for today is Prophet Remission. I have no previous reading history with Prophet, with this title, this character. I know that it was a character created by Rob Liefeld for Image back when him and all the other Image guys first left Marvel and started Image. So it's one of the earliest Image characters. I believe it was created for Youngblood, and then a little bit later got his own solo title. But that's pretty much it. I have no further knowledge of this character. The reason why I chose to get this book, having not had any prior history with the character, was because the way I had heard about it just sounded extremely interesting, right? So this is a newer book. I think it came out in 2012, relatively newer. It's not, an early 90s book like from when Prophet was first created. I had heard that this was like a complete revamping of the book, of the character. Totally different art style than what you'd be used to from Rob Liefeld or anybody working on the style of superhero books that Image was putting out at the time. And I am aware of who Brandon Graham is. Very, I guess, super indie style of comic books is what he kind of creates. Very artistic and just definitely not the norm for what you would expect from a superhero comic book. I have his Rain Like Hammers book, although I have not read it yet, so I'm not extremely familiar with what his writing style is like. That reading this Prophet book is the first time that I've read anything he's written, but I'm a little bit familiar with what his art style looks like. You don't get to see his art until a little bit later in the book. Graham's chapter, I think, is either chapter 4 or 5. Interestingly enough, his chapter is the only one that I think he didn't write for, and it's the only one that is written in like a first-person perspective, whereas all the other chapters are written in more of like a third-person omniscient kind of perspective. Let's get into the book and see what it's like. So, if you're at all familiar with the art style of Rob Liefeld or anybody who worked on Image Comics in the early 90s, you will immediately understand that this book is doing something very different, right? They have this much more indie kind of style going on here. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the character Prophet, but I have seen pictures of what the character used to look like from the 90s, and he is just this great big scary looking jack motherfucker, usually holding some great big knives, and kind of looks like Wolverine but bigger. Obviously this dude, the way the art style is portraying this guy, we're not seeing that. We're seeing a guy that, he looks like a tough guy. He looks like, a guy who's ready to go on this crazy mission through this alien world. But you can tell this is very much not the 90s Image format we're dealing with here. So this book takes place 10,000 years after the events of whenever the last time Prophet had a book going on, sometime in the maybe like the mid or late 90s, I think. And this is Earth. This is not an alien planet, although it's inhabited by alien life forms now. There appears to be no humanity left on the planet. All intelligent life is alien. And, okay, so what I really fucking love about this book is the way that the aliens are, like, and there's a bunch of different types of alien races that are featured here. But, man, they are so unique to what aliens are usually portrayed as. Usually when you have a book about aliens, they're either like gigantic scary monsters, or they're, basically humanoid, but maybe their skin's a different color, maybe their eyes and ears and noses look different, but they're relatively, like I said, humanoid. The aliens in this book, man, they are really different. They're really unique, the way they look, the way they operate. We have a lot of just really cool, like this thing. This is like a living, like, gelatinous tool that this guy uses. He drapes it around his shoulders, kind of like a poncho. But it is useful to him. It does things. Like, there's a part where he gets shot out of the sky. He's flying on something. It gets shot down. He's falling, and this thing like sort of morphs into a parachute. So it reacts and responds to, various kind of stimuli in this guy's favor. Like, it's always trying to help him out. I also really like the writing style. Most of the story is told through, the narration boxes here. There's not a ton of dialogue. You can see some on this page. Most pages, there's plenty of dialogue, but, I think I was just, I happened upon a couple of pages that had a substantial amount of dialogue. But, yeah, mostly, now you can see, not a lot of dialogue. The story's told through these narration boxes, and the way that they're written is very matter-of-fact. Just more scrap in this desert of scrap, but the mission continues. Without the packs, John has weeks of walking ahead of him across this graveyard of fallen giants. Behind him, a buzz of insect wings. And it's just kind of describing exactly what's going on in the moment. It doesn't get inside his head, really. It's not really from his perspective. It's just telling the story of what's happening as it's happening. And I really like it. It's, like, super functional. I do like the artwork, but it's not particularly to my tastes. There are a few different artists that work on this book. The first half of the book is from, I believe, we can look right here. It breaks it all down. So story, Brandon Graham. And then it'll show here who also contributed to the story writing. The art, so here we go. Simon Roy, chapters 1 through 3, and then we have different artists for the other chapters. I think I like Simon Roy's artwork the best out of anybody here, except for Brandon Graham. I really enjoy his artwork, but his entire story does not, it's the only story in this whole thing that does not show Prophet, the character, John Prophet. It follows this, like, robot or android type of a character. And his artwork definitely works for that particular story. I don't know how his artwork would work if he was drawing a lot of the more like animal characters, or, John Prophet, the human looking character. Because I've seen the way he draws humans, and it's very cartoony, but very unique. I really enjoy his art style, but would it work for something like this? I don't know. Maybe it would, but I think the whole point of this book is to take something that was known for being like an action-heavy, superhero title, and turning it into something, very, very different. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't notice that Ed Brisson, or Ed Brisson, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He did the lettering. Isn't he usually known for being a writer? But that's cool. I didn't know he ever did lettering, unless it's a different Ed Brisson, but probably not. I really enjoyed the story, chapters 1 through 3, with the art by Simon Roy. After chapter 3, well, let me see. I'm talking about, if I'm talking about the right chapter. Okay, yeah, so I really enjoyed chapters 1 through 3, about the first half of the book. And I enjoyed the rest of the book as well. However, I think it kind of goes off the rails narratively, starting on chapter 4. Not necessarily in a bad way. It just becomes kind of trippier, a little more convoluted. But, maybe that's only because I'm a big dumb idiot, and this is more of a thinking man's type of comic. That's what they did. They took a, violent action superhero comic and turned it into a more indie, heady type of story and art style. So I think I'm going to wrap up the review now. I'm going to say I definitely enjoyed it, although by the end it didn't make me feel good. This isn't exactly a feel-good comic. This is a comic that is sort of, it takes place in a very ugly, ruthless, harsh world, which is great. John Prophet on his mission has to, claw and crawl and fight for every inch of ground that he has to travel through. He gets really, banged up, and it's kind of reminds me of like a sci-fi alien version of The Revenant. It's just this guy on a grueling trek across many miles to complete a mission, where he gets really savagely fucked up along the way. But he is completely undeterred as well. I really love the character of Prophet in this. I don't know how close he is to resembling, the nature or the demeanor of the character from the 90s, but I really like him in this. Although this is not like the type of a book that focuses on character or character development, but I just love the rugged and, undeterred nature of this guy. He's a total badass. He's a man of few words, but he's a lot of fun to watch as he goes on his mission and does what he does. Would I recommend this to somebody if you are a really big fan of the character from the 90s? My guess is probably not. I don't think you're going to like this. But, maybe you will. I would recommend this to people who are like me, who have absolutely no connection to the character from the 90s, because it was really enjoyable. It's very unique. I haven't really read anything quite like this before, so I would definitely recommend this to anybody who wants to read something kind of unique that still has plenty of action in it. There is violence, there is fighting. It's not taken, a superhero character and turning into something completely the opposite of what it's supposed to be. Right? This guy definitely is a total badass, and we get to see a lot of it. But it's just, it's very different than what I expected. Although I expected it to be somewhat of a departure from, the normal kind of action adventure type of stuff that I might be used to, because I know that Brandon Graham is like that. I know that that's what his material is usually. It's usually, it's unique. So yeah, it's a recommend, although maybe not for people who are already big fans of the original Prophet. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you on the next one. Good day.